All right, counsel, are we ready to bring the jury in?
Um, Your Honor, we just had a chance to review the interview video. There was one more requested redaction. It'll take me not too long to make, Your Honor. If you would like me to make it now, that way we're ready to just keep going, or we can take a short recess, and I can probably finish up in 10 minutes. It's not going to be with our first witness, so I just don't know as far as keeping everything flowing smoothly, what the court preference to do.
You don't have anyone that can make it for you while we're.
Unfortunately, I'm not the only one with the software.
Are you going to be doing the opening and directing on the witnesses, or?
I'm going to be doing opening, first witness. Mr. Hernandez is going to do the second witness. And then I'll be doing the third with the video.
Right, so you said you can have it done, completely done and redacted in 15 minutes?
Yes, sir. I think 15 minutes should give me enough time to have it redacted.
Any other issues before we go off the record?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, Stevens, I did want to bring just to the court's attention, in light of the motion in limine that was filed by Mr. Stevens, the court granting it, we just wanted to be certain, clear that we intend on giving context to why law enforcement showed up at Mr. Young's home. And that's because they were following up leads on a burglary out of Smith County. He was not a suspect, but rather was being contacted as a potential witness to that burglary. And for that reason alone, we are referencing the deputies coming to that home. Fact matter is, they actually found 10 of those gold coins, which were allegedly taken in that burglary, on the property. And then the Smith County deputies requested a search warrant. We're giving context to how the search warrant came to be and how the firearms were located as a result of that search warrant. In light of the court's motion in limine ordered, we just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, that it was our intention all along. He was never a suspect. He was not charged with anything as a result of that Smith County case. But we just don't believe that it would make sense to all of a sudden just plop 2 deputies from Smith County and Van Zandt County and not give it a reason.
Does the state intend to disclose who was arrested as a result of that investigation?
Your Honor, we do intend to disclose the fact that a Russell Melton was the target of that investigation. I don't know what the final disposition of Russell Melton was, but I know he was the target of the investigation.
The state will not be leaving the jury with the inference that this defendant was the target of that investigation or was in any way whatsoever connected to that investigation, other than it being at his home or a residence that he was residing at?
His home, but that's correct, Your Honor. Yes.
Mr. Stevens? I don't really check. Okay, very well. All right, so I'm going to have Deputy Martinez notify the jury that we'll begin at 1:20.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I'll get to work on this right now.
All right, court's going to stand in recess till 1:20.
I think so. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Amen.
All right, ready?
Yes, sir. We're all good. Double checked it, so.
Okay, you could go this way. Just go this way.
Need to do it with somebody else. Okay.
And Josh is right across the hall.
Council, are we ready to proceed? All right, so I'll rise to drink.
Your Honor, will we be swearing in the witnesses then before?
Are you asking about invoking the rule?
Well,
How will we? Yeah, we'll do all that. Sure.
okay.
All right, you may be seated. All right, good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Rarely do I say that because usually we get started in the morning. We are now on record cause number CR 21-98, State of Texas versus Reginald Hoyt Young II. And as I told you yesterday, what we heard do this morning is we would present the indictment to the defendant. And then we'll begin with opening statements and the first witness. So at this time, if Mr. Young, if you'll please rise. Mr. Hartwell, if you will present the indictment to Mr. Young.
Yes, sir. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury for the county of Van Zandt, state of Texas, duly selected, impaneled, sworn, charged, and organized as such at the January term AD 2021 of the 294th Judicial District Court for said county, upon their oaths present in and to said court at said term that Reginald Hoyt Young II, hereinafter styled defendant, on or about November 25th, 2020, and before the presentment of this indictment in the county and state aforesaid, did then and there intentionally or knowingly possess a short barrel firearm, to wit, an Eastern Arms 16-gauge shotgun, against the peace and dignity of the state, signed foreman of the grand jury.
Thank you, Mr. Hartwell. And Mr. Young, how do you enter a plea?
Not guilty.
Not guilty? All right, thank you. You may be seated. All right, is there a request for the rule to be invoked at this time?
Yes, Your Honor, we invoke the rule.
All right, if all the witnesses will be brought here before the bench. All right, witnesses, the rule has been invoked, and in just a moment, you're going to be ordered to leave the courtroom and not re-enter unless instructed to do so by the court or the bailiff. While you're under the rule, you're not to discuss the case or your testimony with any other witnesses or anyone else except the attorneys. You're not to read any report of or comment on the testimony or evidence in this case. Any witness violating this instruction is subject to being held in contempt of court. Do you all understand the rule? All right, if you'll step outside and then wait for your name to be called. All right, is the state ready for its opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Do you need the podium?
Yes, please. Thank you. May it please the court, Mr. Stevens. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Been practicing that one all day. I want to thank you all for returning today. I know there's a lot going on right now. I know there's a lot happening in your lives. So we truly appreciate your time and dedication to seeing that the justice system has the opportunity to work. To be really kind of blunt about this case, it's fairly straightforward. On November 25th, you'll hear evidence that deputies with Smith County Sheriff's Office was investigating another incident that happened in Smith County. You'll hear that Mr. Young was not the subject of that investigation. In fact, the subject of that investigation was a man by the name of Russell Melton. However, during the course of their investigation, the deputies with Smith County were led to the property that Mr. Young resided on. You'll hear that they found some evidence from that Smith County incident on the property. And as follow-up, they got a search warrant and searched the property where they found a sawed-off shotgun. You'll hear evidence that Mr. Young admitted that he in fact did have possession of that sawed-off shotgun. Ladies and gentlemen, by the end of the trial today, tomorrow, we expect that the evidence is going to show that in fact on the property in Van Zandt County, where Mr. Young was staying, there was a prohibited weapon, 16-gauge shotgun that was sawed off. And I believe the evidence is going to show to you that Mr. Young was in possession of that shotgun. At the end of this trial, we're going to ask you to find Mr. Young guilty of this offense. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harwell. Mr. Stevens, does the defense wish to have an opening statement at this time, or do you
We
wish
would reserve, Your Honor.
you want to defer until the state has rested its case?
Yes, sir.
All right, Deputy Martinez, if you'll remove the podium. Who does the state call as its first witness?
Your Honor, state calls investigator Tim McDonald.
Tim McDonald. All right, Mr. McDonald, if you'll raise your right hand on the patient oath. Sir, do you swear that the testimony you give to the court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so be done? Yes, Your Honor. Please watch your step. That chair does move. So move it around. Deputy Martinez will adjust the microphone for you. That's it. It's comfortable as you can in an old wooden chair. During your testimony, you don't have to lean into the microphone, but you do have to project, speak loud enough for it to pick you up so that everyone in the courtroom can hear what you have to say. Allow the attorneys to finish the questions fully before you give an answer. Of course, my court reporter, Ms. Grisham, is trying to take down a transcript, so it becomes very difficult if we talk at the same time. If an objection is lodged, just stop testifying. The court will rule on that, and it may happen that an emergency vehicle or a loud truck will pass by. If that happens while they're asking questions, they're going to stop, or if you're testifying, stop, let that sign pass so that we all hear what you have to say, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you,
Yes,
Your
sir,
Honor.
I will.
Good afternoon, Investigator McDonald. Can you please start by introducing yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the court reporter?
Absolutely. Tim McDonald, TIMMCDONALD. And I'm Tim McDonald, an investigator with Smith County Sheriff's Office.
And Investigator McDonald, how long have you been an investigator with Smith County?
Right at about 10 years.
And has that been continuous?
Yes, it has.
So you would have been an investigator with Smith County in 2020?
That's correct.
Did you have any other law enforcement jobs or roles other than investigator with Smith County?
I did. I was a patrol deputy for approximately a year and a half prior to becoming an investigator.
And can you tell me a little bit about how you become a deputy?
Absolutely. Initially, it began with Police Academy. That I graduated from East Texas Police Academy with Kilgore College. And I began my career with the Jacksonville Police Department. And I served there until January of 2013. And I was a patrol deputy for Smith County Sheriff's Office. And I was promoted to the Criminal Investigation Division in somewhere around November of 2017.
And are you a certified peace officer in the state of Texas?
Yes, I am.
Have you been a certified peace officer since graduating the academy?
Yes, I have.
So, and math's not my strong suit. Help me out with exactly how long have you been a peace officer?
Since 2009, without having to math myself.
And tell me a little bit about the academy.
I'm sorry.
What is the academy for?
Yes, sir. The police academy is a basic introduction to law enforcement. It's school that all Texas peace officers have to complete prior to being certified. It ranges from learning about all the different types of laws, different types of tactics and techniques that law enforcement use throughout their day to day, and also gives just kind of a baseline understanding of the goals of law enforcement.
And as an investigator, do you have any additional training that you do or continuing training that you do?
Yes, as a peace officer, we're required to maintain minimum 40 hours of training, continuing ed training every 2-year cycle. I currently have over 5,500 hours of continuing ed training. And some of that stems from having an associate's degree from Jacksonville College and a bachelor's degree from Dallas Baptist University, and also a master's degree from the University of Texas at Tyler.
And Investigator McDonald, I want to take you back to November 25th of 2020. Do you recall that date?
I do.
Were you on duty on that day?
Yes, I was.
What was the function of your job that day?
I was a criminal investigator.
And were you conducting any kind of an investigation?
Yes, I was.
Without going into too much extraneous detail, can you tell me what the basics of that investigation was?
Yes, we were investigating a burglary that took place in Smith County.
And was the subject of that investigation an individual by the name of Russell Melton?
Yes, it was.
At some point, did your investigation lead here to Van Zandt County?
Yes, it did.
Where in Van Zandt County did your investigation lead to?
Is it okay if I reference my report for the address?
Would referencing your report refresh your recollection?
Yes, it would.
Go ahead.
We went to multiple addresses on or around VZ County Road 4909 and 4910.
And at some point, where was the end point of the Van Zandt County part of that investigation?
For me, it was at on 4910.
And who lived at that address?
I know that a Reginald Young lived there, and there was a female that I believe lived there as well. I cannot recall her name.
And at that address, was that the address that you went to, was that in Van Zandt County in 2020?
Yes.
And you mentioned a Reginald Young lived there. Do you see him in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you please describe what he is wearing and where he is seated?
He's seated at the table there, and he's wearing a light blue shirt.
Your Honor, may the record reflect this witness has identified the defendant as Reginald Young?
The record will reflect that this witness has identified the defendant in this case, Reginald Hoyt Young II.
And when you got to that property, what was it that captured your attention there?
There was a vehicle there that we were searching for that belonged to a Michael Ward, I believe his name was, and we came upon it. So that's what brought us to that location.
And at some point, did you find Michael Ward?
Yes, we did.
And did you also see Mr. Young there?
Yes, we did.
Can you tell me a little bit about how the case developed upon arrival?
We were able to locate some of the evidence directly related to our burglary in Smith County on that property.
As a result of finding some of that evidence, what was the next step that you took?
The next step was to generate a search warrant for the property to search for more evidence in our burglary that occurred in Smith County.
And can you kind of describe that property for me, like buildings, vehicles, things like that?
Yes, there was on that property, there was a mobile home. There was an RV parked and set up very close to the motorhome or the mobile home. There was a Mustang that we already discussed, and there was also an orange, I'd say a mid-sized SUV, Dodge Nitro.
And were you able to determine, you said a mobile home and an RV, were you able to determine who lived in what area?
Yes, we did.
And were you able to determine where Mr. Young lived?
Yes, we did.
Where did he live?
Mr. Young lived in the RV that was next to the mobile home.
And throughout this process, did you ever notify Van Zant County law enforcement?
Yes, as a common courtesy, we did.
And what was their response to being notified?
They arrived on scene shortly thereafter.
And you mentioned earlier that you got a search warrant put together. Were you able to execute that search warrant?
Yes, we were.
What was found as a result of the search warrant?
We located a firearm that was found to be a violation of Texas law.
And Investigator McDonald, do you recall what happened with the firearm that you found?
I do not.
At that point, were you as a Smith County deputy interested in firearms or anything like that?
No, it was not.
Do you know if Van Zant County law enforcement who was there was interested?
I believe they were.
Your Honor, state passes the witness.
Mr. Stevens, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator McDonald, I'm Bill Stevens, going to ask some questions. If I don't make myself clear, just please stop me, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. Now, how did you derive at the fact that Mr. Young lived at that travel trailer?
By his own words.
By his own words, did he tell you that?
I was present during the interview that he was giving.
Okay, did y'all, when you searched the property, did you find his clothing, shoes, clothing, underwear, things of that, like that in the travel trailer?
I don't remember exactly what all was found. I remember we found other evidence. It's been 4 years since that day, so I'm not quite sure exactly.
Other than his statement, was there any evidence that you found that tied him to that travel trailer?
Yes.
What was that?
His vehicle parked.
His vehicle?
His vehicle was parked in the vicinity.
Okay, so because his vehicle's parked there, that means he lives there?
And his own testimony.
No. Your investigation, he was not the target of your investigation, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
He was not.
And to your knowledge, was he arrested for anything other than the sawed-off shotgun?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. What was the investigation all about that led you out to that location?
It was a burglary of a habitation that occurred in Smith County.
And what kind of property were y'all actually looking for?
We were looking for gold coins and other precious metals, firearms, and items that were specifically taken from that specific residence in Smith County.
And again, Mr. Young was not charged with any of that stuff, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Chartwell, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator McDonald, we kind of danced around it earlier, but with the property that was stolen from the burglary, what was it that you located at this property?
Located a firearm. Oh, of the,
From the burglary?
from our burglary in Smith County, I'm sorry. We located several gold coins.
And do you know approximately how many?
I believe around 10.
And where did you locate those?
We located those inside the orange Dodge Nitro.
And that's the Dodge Nitro that you said belonged to Mr. Young?
That's correct.
And you mentioned earlier that you overheard him state that he lived on the property. Can you clarify the circumstances around that statement?
Yes, he was willing to speak to detectives and other officers there. And while he was talking, he advised that the the RV travel trailer was where he resided.
And Your Honor, state passes the witness.
Mr. Stevens.
Investigator, who was it, not the Dodge Nitro titled in? Whose name was it titled in?
I'm not sure who it was titled to.
What, did you run a report on it?
I'm sure somebody did. That was not my part of the investigation.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Chartwell.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any objection to Investigator McDonald being finally excused?
Your Honor, we would ask subject to recall, but no objection to him going back to Smith County and just being within phone call.
Mr. Stevens.
No objection, Judge.
All right, so Investigator McDonald, you're not released at this time from the rule that I placed you under, so you'll still need to abide by that. You're not required to stay in the courthouse just so long as you're available by cell phone to the state and to the defense. All right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's just let them. Does the state wish to call another witness?
Yes, Your Honor, the people will call Lieutenant Bob Keltner.
Lieutenant Keltner. All right, sir, if you'll raise your right hand, do you swear that the testimony you give to the court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? What's your step? Through your testimony, it's important that you speak up loudly and clearly so that everyone can hear what you have to say. Allow the attorneys to finish their question before you start speaking, so we're not talking at the same time, which makes it difficult for my court reporter and for everyone to hear. If an emergency vehicle or loud truck passes by, it causes maybe difficult to hear, just stop testifying. The attorneys may even stop asking questions. Okay. Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Lieutenant. Would you please introduce yourself to the jury by stating your full name and spelling your last name for the court reporter?
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Robert Aaron Keltner, Keltner. I often go as Bob.
And Lieutenant, I mentioned Lieutenant Bob Keltner. Is that your current title?
It is
And which agency do you work for?
Van Zandt County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been with the Van Zandt County Sheriff's Department?
Almost a year and a half this time.
This time? So
This
you
time.
have some prior law enforcement experience?
Yeah, I had a break in between 2021 and 2023.
And are you a post-certified peace officer?
I am.
Okay, and when did that certification first start?
I got my basic in 1991.
Okay, so how many years total in law enforcement have you had?
A little over 30. I had a break in the late 90s.
And what other agencies have you worked for?
I worked for the constable's office here, precinct 4 in Van Zandt County. Been there almost 15 years. Dual commissioned. And then, of course, the sheriff's office, from 2017 to 2000, into 2020. McCullough County Sheriff's Office in Brady, Texas. Did a short stint with the Van Police Department here in Van Zandt County. And the Kemp Police Department in Kaufman County.
And so fair to say that you've kind of come up the ranks and you started off as a patrol officer initially?
That's correct.
Okay. And when did you receive your commission for lieutenant here in Van Zandt County?
June of 2023.
Okay. So asking you to look back on to November 25th, the year 2020, were you working for the Van Zandt County Sheriff's Department?
I was.
Okay. And in what capacity? What title?
I was a sergeant investigator with in the Criminal Investigation Division.
And what were your duties in that capacity on that date?
I strictly worked property crimes or major crimes when it was necessary.
Do you have occasion to respond to 1255 Van Zandt County Road 4910 in Ben Wheeler, Texas, back on November 25th, 2020?
Yes, I did.
And was that location there and now, sir, in Van Zandt County, state of Texas?
Yes, it's in rural Van Zandt County.
Okay. Talking about middle of the day, maybe about 11:30, maybe noon. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it sounds about right. We were there a good part of that day.
And how is it that you were called to that location?
The Smith County Sheriff's Office was investigating a property crime that occurred in their area. And they had ended up, as a result of their investigation, on 4910, and they requested us to come assist them, which is often the case when you're in somebody else's jurisdiction. You talk to who works there,
So-
at the very least to let them know.
Because they were from Smith County coming into Van Zandt.
Yes.
I believe there was testimony about a courtesy call. Is that what he was referring to?
Yes, that would be the case.
Okay. And upon arrival there at that location, who did you meet with?
Met with Deputy Kevin Londoff and Deputy Tim McDonald with the Smith County Sheriff's Office.
And did they advise you of the purpose of their call and why they were at that location?
They did.
And as a result of that, what happened?
So they were there, like I said, investigating a property crime, which was a burglary. They had had a significant number of gold coins stolen out of a safe in the northwest portion of their county. And they had followed up some leads that led them to that location. And they had two individuals that they had detained there and were trying to forward their investigation.
And at any point, were you able to observe whether they were actually conversing with those two individuals?
I believe so. They were talking
Okay.
to those folks.
And one of those individuals, do you see that one of them here in the courtroom today?
I do.
Do you see Reginald Young, the second, here today?
Yes, sir.
Would you please describe where he is seated and what he is wearing?
He's seated here next to his attorney in a button-down shirt with his glasses on.
Your Honor, I'd ask the record to reflect identification of the defendant by this witness.
The description is a button-down shirt with glasses on, sitting next to an attorney. I'm not sure that that's a sufficient identification. Because they're both wearing button-downs, they're both wearing glasses.
Okay.
There's no presumption that one's an attorney over the other.
Okay.
Do you see somebody wearing a suit?
Yes, I
And,
do.
and who is that? Do you
I
know?
would assume that is his defense attorney.
Okay, and the person sitting to his right.
It is Reginald Young, a person I know as Reginald Young.
Okay, you know him as Reginald Young.
Yes.
At this time, I'd ask the record to reflect identification, Your Honor.
All right, record will reflect that this witness has identified the defendant, in this case, Reginald Hoyt Young II.
Now, Lieutenant Keltner, I'd like to ask you about body worn cameras going back to November 25th of 2020. Were those in use at the time by the Van Zandt County Sheriff's Office?
I believe that I had one issued to me there in that time. Yes.
Okay, and do you recall if that body worn camera was used by you on that date when you responded to that call?
I don't recall. We were leading up to the transition from one administration to the other. I don't remember whether I'd turned it in or whether I was wearing it that day.
And do you recall anything about CID and whether or not there was a policy as to whether body worn cameras would be worn by those investigators?
I don't recall a policy requiring CID to wear them at that time.
Okay. And so to your knowledge, did the deputies interview the defendant, Reginald Young, at that location?
I know that they did talk to him, yes.
And as a result of that investigation, do you know if any of the alleged stolen property was found on scene?
As I recall, he did not consent to a search, so they were required to get a search warrant to advance their investigation there.
And was a search warrant obtained to lawfully conduct a search on that property?
It's my understanding that the Smith County Sheriff's Office, those deputies that were out there had obtained a search warrant for that location, yes.
And did you participate in any way with the processing of that area after the search warrant was signed?
Oh, yes, I assisted with searching a vehicle and other locations, yes.
I may approach the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
So Keltner, I'm handing you what's been marked for identification purposes as states exhibits 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Without actually displaying them to the jury, I'd ask you to take a look and see if you recognize those.
Yes, I do.
And what do those purport to be, sir?
All right, number one is looks like an upright freezer.
Now, well, let me ask you a more general question. Are those all photographs? Do they appear to be photographs?
Yes, all 5 of them are photographs of what I recall to be the location of the search warrant.
Okay, and do they each and every one of those 1 through 5 clearly show the situation and what you observed back on November 25th, 2020?
Yes,
They've not been changed or altered in any way?
not to my knowledge or detection, no, they look just like what they did back then.
At this time, I'd move for the admission of states exhibits 1 through 5, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, there being no objection, states exhibits 1 through 5 are admitted.
I may approach the witness, Your Honor. We'd like to ask permission to publish at this time.
Yes, sir, granted. And Mr. Alternate, sir, Mr. Alternate, if you want to, you're welcome to bring your chair out. You can slide your chair out here so that you can get a better view so that you're not having to crane your neck up. Deputy Martinez, if you'll help me.
Mayor?
Yes.
Lieutenant Keltner, so what's been identified now and marked as State's Exhibit 1. Started to comment on that. What is that item?
It appears to be a stand-up freezer that was against the travel trailer at that location on 4910.
Okay. And do you recall what the makeup was? There's been a travel trailer discussed and a mobile home as well. Are those two separate
Yeah,
living quarters?
yes, two separate residents, I guess, or living quarters, yes. Two
Okay.
separate.
And this refrigerator or freezer, I believe is how you refer to it,
Uh-huh.
is in front of, is that the RV?
Yes, the RV travel trailer, yes.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 2.
Mhm.
Is that same freezer?
That's
Door
the-
open?
Yes, it's the interior of it, yes.
Okay. And do you recall seeing, what is the item there on that center shelf?
That's the breakover shotgun in question today.
State's Exhibit 3 here, it's more close up, you see that there?
Mhm.
Is that the same shotgun you're referring to?
Yes, it is.
And to your recollection, was there another firearm that was also located?
There was.
State's Exhibit 4. What is that there?
It's a 22 long rifle with a scope on it.
That's this here.
Mhm.
And is that where it was located once law enforcement went into that RV?
Yes. Now,
Close up here, State's Exhibit 5. Right.
yes.
Now, who actually took possession of these two firearms, Lieutenant Kelmer?
I believe I did. And I transported them back to the sheriff's office in Van Zandt County.
Back on State's Exhibit 3. Let me approach you, Your Honor.
You may.
Lieutenant Keltner, I ask you just to take a quick look and make sure that this item is safe. Ask you to identify it, please.
Okay, it is safe. This is a breakover shotgun that has been had the stock removed and the length of the barrel, or a length of the barrel.
And there's been some mentioning of a sawed-off shotgun. Is that the item in question?
That's how I would describe it, yes. It does appear that the barrel was sawed off with most likely a hacksaw or something to that effect. It's what it appears. It doesn't, it's not clean. It does not appear to have been professionally modified.
Okay. Are you aware of instances where an item like that, a shotgun, can be professionally modified?
Yes, I would think so. I would think a gunsmith would be able to professionally modify a gun like that.
Now, are you aware of what the definition of a prohibited weapon is, Lieutenant?
Not verbatim, but yes.
Okay, well, in measurements, what are we talking, and
Oh,
what would you be looking at?
The barrel should be at least 18 inches long and the overall length should be 27 inches long, minimum. Otherwise, it requires a special permit or tax stamp.
And that's actually the item that was recovered from Reginald Young back on November 25th, 2020.
That is correct.
Does it appear to have been changed or modified in any way other than the identifying information that's attached to it?
No.
Your Honor, at this time I move for the admission of State's Exhibit 6.
Objection to state 6.
Oh, it's the sticker.
No objection, Judge. No. All right, there being no objection, State's Exhibit 6 is admitted. Deputy Martinez, will you get this from Lieutenant Hilton? I just said this right on that line.
Let me approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, sir, you mean.
Lieutenant Keltner, I'll ask you to take a look at what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 7. It's a box currently there. Can you take a look to see if it bears any identifying information?
It does.
And whose name appears on that box?
My name appears on it.
Okay, and do you know when that box would have been put together in that fashion?
Well, I collected it on November the 25th, 2020. I did not box this particular piece of evidence myself.
Okay. But you actually brought an item from Mr. Young's residence back to the sheriff's department.
That is correct.
At this time, I'd ask you to go ahead and break the seal on the box and then look at the contents without actually pulling out that item.
The seal is already broke on it.
Okay? Does that look to be fairly the same item that you recovered back on November 25th, 2020?
Yes.
Has it been modified, changed in any way?
It appears that the scope has been removed from the top of the rifle.
Okay.
This is my handwriting on the tag.
If you wouldn't mind just taking a quick look and making sure that it is safe.
Can I cut it out of the box?
Yes, you need Deputy Martinez's knife.
No, I have one if that's all right.
Yes, you can cut it out.
I believe the weapon is safe.
All right.
It is on safety.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move for the admission of State's Exhibit 7.
Any objection to state 7?
Your Honor, I got a couple of questions of the witness, State's Exhibit 7.
All right, go ahead.
Officer, you testified just now that the seal had been broken on the box.
Yes,
Okay. Did you break the seal?
I did not.
Do you know who broke the seal?
I do not.
I'll object to the admission of this evidence, Your Honor. Seal's been broken. He doesn't know who broke the seal. We don't know if that was actually the weapon put in there at the time.
Response from state.
I believe he testified that it is the weapon, Your Honor, that was placed in the box, other than the fact that the scope was taken off the weapon. That was the testimony.
All right, then the court will overrule the objection and state 7 is admitted.
Please note my objection.
Yes, sir, it is noted for the record.
If I may approach the witness, Your
You
Honor.
may.
Seal it up.
You can stay on the floor.
All right, sir, thank you. Now, Lieutenant Keltner, I'll make reference back to State's Exhibit 6, but it has been admitted there. And handing you a standard Stanley 12-foot measuring tape.
Okay.
You testified to the fact that there's a certain length that you're looking for and what qualifies as a prohibited weapon. What was that number in terms
Anything
of
under
barrel
18.
length?
Anything under 18 inches.
Would you please take a moment and measure the length of that barrel there?
Shows a 16th over 11 inches.
So that's almost
11
7
inches.
inches.
Yeah, 11 inches and a 16th.
And it should be
18 inches. So it's well under.
7 inches.
Yeah.
I think even I can do that math.
Uh,
All right. And then you also stated that there was a overall length that you're looking at.
of 26 inches.
And would you please just take a moment and measure that?
Give me just a moment. I need to. Overall, it'd be approximately 19 and a half inches.
And where does that compare to what the law would require
It'd be 7 inches under
as well?
as well.
If I may approach, Ron. Catch that back.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Lieutenant Keltner, let me ask you, do you recall meeting with the defendant Reginald Young on December 4th, the year 2020?
I do.
And where did that meeting take place?
At the Van Zandt County Sheriff's Office.
And you had a conversation with him.
I did.
Who else was present in the room other than yourself and the defendant?
Special Agent Josh Petrie with ATF.
Mr. Hernandez, I'm gonna allow the alternate.
Yes, please.
Seat back there. I don't want him to feel like he's on trial. Well.
Huh?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, sir. And so you said it was yourself, Josh Petrie with ATF, and Mr. Young.
That's correct.
Okay. And do you recall if he was advised of his Miranda rights on that date?
He was.
Okay. And was that in a matter of just spoken word, or did he have an opportunity to review a formal advisement form?
Agent Petrie advised him orally and then referred to a written document advising him of his rights.
And the defendant signed the statement
He did.
indicating he knew what his rights were and he was waiving them?
That's correct.
If I may approach.
You may.
Handing you what's been marked for identification as State Exhibit 8. Recognize that document?
I do.
And does it bear any identifying information on it?
It has Reginald Young's name and his signature, and it has my name and signature and the date and time.
And is that the form that you were just talking about where he was advised of his rights and then waived those rights and signed the document?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
That form appeared to have been changed in any way or doctored?
It does not.
Your Honor, this time I move for the admission of State's Exhibit 8.
No objection. There being no objection, states 8 is admitted.
So after advising him of his Miranda rights, Lieutenant Keltner, what did the defendant share with you in reference to that sawed-off shotgun? What did he tell you?
We had a discussion, and Mr. Young stated that he had moved the sawed-off shotgun from his vehicle to the freezer that's in the photograph.
And at any point, did you have any conversation regarding where he lived or who actually lived in that RV or?
I mean, that's where he was living. Yes. I mean, I don't recall whether it was during the that interview or not, but the RV where that upright freezer was and where the 22 long rifle was recovered was where he was living.
And there was another person contacted there. There was a female. Do you know who that was?
That was Mr. Young's girlfriend at the time.
Okay. And so both were there on property when you arrived.
Yes.
Now, specifically as to the sawed-off shotgun, you made reference that he took it out of the vehicle. Do you recall a conversation regarding the rifle that's been admitted as States 7?
Yes, we talked about the rifle.
And what did he say about the rifle?
I believe that he had said that he had shot the rifle to eliminate varmints or rodents around his residence there.
Did you mean that or take that to mean that he knew he had both weapons
Oh,
on his
absolutely.
property?
Absolutely.
Was there any hesitation on his part when he talked about how that sawed-off shotgun got into the freezer?
No, I believe he was honest.
And he said that he moved it from the car to the freezer.
That's correct.
I have nothing further, Your Honor. I'd pass the witness. Thank you.
Mr. Stevens, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Lieutenant Keltner, I'm Bill Stevens. I'm going to ask some questions. If I don't make myself clear, just please stop and let me know.
Okay.
So when you went out to the property, did you personally search the travel trailer?
I don't recall searching the interior of the travel trailer myself.
Okay. Do you know who might have searched the interior?
There were a number of deputies from Smith County there, but I don't know exactly which one it was.
Okay. And so what exactly was your purpose in being there? I know you were called in because it's one department's there and they need to call in you, but so tell me exactly what was your purpose in being there?
Primarily to assist them, being in Van Zandt County. I was previously aware of the burglary that they were working on. It had occurred close to Van Zandt County, and we had some dealings with the suspects that, and had some cases with the suspect on the case that they were working on.
Okay. Now, my client was not charged with anything related from the burglary. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. And this 22 rifle that was found, it's not an illegal rifle, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay. So he wasn't charged with that. Possession of that
Your Honor,
rifle.
can we approach real quick?
You can.
Your Honor, I'll withdraw that last question. Lieutenant, did you take any fingerprints from the shotgun?
I did not.
You did not. Do you know if anybody took any fingerprints?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Did you ever see Mr. Young possess? I mean, with your eyes, did you ever see Mr. Young possess the shotgun?
No, I did not see it in his hands or on his person. So no, I did not.
Okay. And tell us again where this refrigerator was located that had the shotgun in it.
Okay, so in the photograph that you can see there, there's what I would describe as a double wide trailer house. I believe it's a double wide, where Mr. Young's mother lived at that address. And then off to the east side, there was his RV that set not perpendicular, but at an angle to the double wide where Mr. Young was living. And I'm sorry, to more completely answer your question, there was a refrigerator in that stand-up freezer that was against the RV on what I would describe as the west side.
Okay, was it on the RV, like on a porch, or was it on the ground?
I recall it being on the ground, not a porch. I don't recall an improved porch.
Well, so it wasn't inside the travel trailer itself, the refrigerator.
No, it was not on the inside.
Okay.
The freezer and the refrigerator were not.
Were there several travel trailers and whatnot in that general area that people lived in?
On that road, yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, on that road, yes.
Okay. And how about on that particular property where you were?
I don't recall any other structures besides the travel trailer RV and the double wide. I do recall there being a shed on the west side of the property. But I don't recall anybody living in there. I believe it was for storage.
Do you recall a building or a house being tore down at the time you were doing your investigation?
I think that the storage building may be what you're referring to, but I don't remember it being tore down.
In the process of being demolished?
I suppose that's possible, but the structure appeared to be erect at the time. I don't recall it being.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like it was in pieces or anything. I remember it having 4 walls and a roof and having a number of items would appear to be in storage inside of it.
Okay. Is that sawed off shotgun operable?
So I would not consider it operable at this time. No.
Looks to me more like I don't know, some kind of relic or something that you'd see hanging on a wall.
Perhaps.
Any idea do you have any way of determining the last time that shotgun was fired?
I do not know, sir.
Okay. Did you go inside the property? I think you answered that. I want to ask you one more time. Did you go inside the property,
Okay. I mean,
the travel trailer?
I believe that I looked inside the travel trailer after they were done searching and discovered the rifle, but I didn't spend much time in there if I did.
Okay. I noticed on State's Exhibit number 6, I believe it is. I'm sorry, on State's Exhibit number 4, it shows the pick of the shotgun and it shows a pill bottle on a table next to it. Did you happen to look at the pill bottle to see whose name was on it?
I don't recall doing that. No.
Okay. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Hernandez, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Lieutenant Keltner, in your 30 years of law enforcement experience, have you ever followed up and asked that an item be dusted for fingerprints if the suspect had admitted to possessing or moving the item?
Oh, no, sir. No.
And in this instance, did you feel it necessary to dust the sawed-off shotgun for fingerprints?
No, sir.
Why not?
Because possession was identified. It was not necessary to find an unknown person, uh, as to who possessed it.
Did he in any way admit to ever having touched it?
He did admit to touching it.
What did he say?
He said he moved it from his vehicle to the location where it was discovered,
In the freezer?
in the freezer. I don't recall that he said it was a freezer, but he moved it out of his vehicle to that location.
Now, counsel asked you about a relic. In your 30 years of law enforcement, maybe even longer, have you ever come across an item that in your mind was a relic?
I would say yes.
How would that item appear to you?
As an example, I guess the weapons and anything else that would be of age could be in a various degree of condition.
Mhm.
Some things are in better condition than others. As an example, I've been to a gun store where they had a weapon that was documented to have been produced during or shortly after the Civil War. It was sold to the United States Army and it had returned to the manufacturing plant to be modified and then had returned to service. And somehow it ended up as in private ownership. And I would say that that's a relic or an antique, but it was still in serviceable condition and it had paperwork to go along with it.
Is it fair to say that the term relic would make you think of something being hung on the wall?
I would think of it that way. Yes,
It may have a plaque identifying dates of service.
very possibly.
It would have paperwork for its authenticity.
Yes.
Counsel also asked you about whether that sawed-off shotgun is operable. What would it take for it to be operable?
Simply sliding a firing pin into position and loading it.
How long would that take to slide that firing pin?
Just a few seconds.
No further questions, Your Honor. I pass the witness.
Stevens, you witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Lieutenant, could anybody without experience put a firing pin in there? Would they know how to do it?
Well, I don't know. That would cause me to speculate as to whether they would know how to do it. I would think that anybody who was capable of placing a round peg in a round hole would be able to figure it out.
So where would you get a firing pin?
I would think that any gun store or that the firing pin may have become dislodged and may have been available with the weapon.
Did you locate a firing pin?
I did not.
Did you look for a firing pin?
I did not.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
No, nothing further, Your Honor.
Objections. Excuse.
Your Honor, we ask that he remain subject to the rule.
Okay. So follow that. Without, it's subject to recall like the state.
Okay, so I can go vote?
Yes, you will.
Okay, all right. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
and you're free to go about your job. Just know that they call you, they will store in the rule not to discuss the case or discuss it with anyone else. That's on the paper.
Very good. I'll keep myself on.
What's your step?
If I may approach the bench, Your Honor.
But yeah, man, you always been hard. You know the.
Say, call any additional witnesses.
Yes, Your Honor. State calls Agent Josh Petrie.
Right. Third, you swear that the testimony you give before today, truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so. Yes. See. Martinez. During your testimony, support that you speak up loudly and clearly, you have to lean into the microphone. During your testimony, if the attorneys object, Justin Donovan will move on now. Allow the attorneys to completely finish their question before you give an answer, so we're not talking at the same time. For purposes of a clear record. Finally, if you're in the emergency vehicle or mouth shut, sometimes it makes it difficult for people. Because the line of that sound pass, the attorneys may stop your questioning during that time.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Agent Petrie. Can you please introduce yourself to the jury by stating your full name, spelling your last name for the court reporter?
My name is Joshua Petrie, Petree.
And can you tell me what you do for a living?
I'm a special agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives.
What does somebody have to do to become a special agent with the Bureau of ATF?
Well, we investigate federal crimes. So typically, like I have a bachelor's degree. I was a police officer prior to. And so it's there's different paths, but typically you're prior law enforcement before you become a federal agent.
So starting kind of with your education, what do you have a bachelor's degree in?
So I have a associate's degree in criminal justice, a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and a master's degree in business administration.
And about how long did it take you to get those degrees?
Long time, approximately 10 years. I was a police officer while I was also going to graduate school.
And where were you a police officer at?
University of Texas at Tyler.
And to be a police officer with UT Tyler, did you have to be a certified police officer?
Yes, I went through the UT police system in Austin, Texas.
Can you tell me a little bit about that system?
It's a 6-month training, typical police academy where you're learning policies and procedures, state penal codes, arrest techniques, driving techniques, shooting, hand-to-hand techniques, various generalized law enforcement.
And about how long were you a police officer?
4 years.
And is it at that point after your degrees and your experience as a police officer that you applied to be with the ATF?
It took me 4 years to be hired. So while I did an internship with ATF when I was going to UT Tyler on my undergraduate degree. Knew that was my goal, became a police officer to gather the experience. The hiring process was approximately 4 years.
Can you describe a little bit about that process?
Process of being hired?
Yes, sir.
It's very stringent. Typically, ATF has 2,500 federal agents throughout the United States. It's always been about that size. Our attrition is usually people that retire. It's approximately 100 agents a year. They open up the vacancy announcement, which is the generalized open application process. Typically 5,000 to 10,000 people apply. They hire about 100 a year. So it's very, very stringent.
And once they hire you, can you tell me a little bit about that process?
Yes. So they sent me to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I got the duty agent phone call that said I was being hired and went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, worked there for approximately 6 months till I was assigned an academy date. ATF attends a training academy in Glencoe, Georgia. It's also where at the time, Border Patrol, U.S. Marshals, Customs, Secret Service, a lot of your federal agencies have combined training at this one facility in Glencoe, Georgia.
And so would Glencoe be kind of the equivalent of like Quantico for FBI?
Yes.
And can you tell me a little bit about your experience at Glencoe?
Sure. The entire training process there was approximately 6 months. Half of that was a generalized investigator training for those that basically didn't have law enforcement prior to. It taught you the laws and procedures and techniques of investigation, typically because we are criminal investigators. And then the second half was more specific towards what we deal with as ATF agents: alcohol, tobacco, firearms, explosives, commercial arson, stuff more specialized towards what ATF agents do in general.
And so you mentioned some of your college education. Do you have any furthering education specific to while you've been on the job?
Yes, I'm also considered a firearms interstate nexus expert. What that means is I'm an expert and have been declared expert in numerous courts throughout the country of identification of firearms, the markings, where they're made, when they're made. I've toured numerous manufacturing facilities throughout the United States. I also go back and teach various blocks of that at our training academy.
And Your Honor, may I approach the witness? And Agent Petrie, I'm gonna show you what's, and what's enlarged and admitted as State's Exhibit 6. Can you take a look at that item?
Yes,
Can you describe what that item is?
this is a weapon made from a shotgun. It can be classified in two different manners. Weapon made from, because lawfully to possess firearms like this, they have to be an overall length of 26 inches. And or the barrel has to be at least 18 inches long because it's a shotgun. And it's obvious that this one has been shortened on both the buttstock and the barrel.
And would you classify, so that appears to be a modified shotgun?
Yes, it originated its life as a shotgun that people would fire from the shoulder, typically for hunting of birds or things of that nature.
So in your training and experience, does that appear to be a prohibited weapon?
Yes,
And is that due to the length?
yes, these are considered concealable. Therefore, they're prohibited because they can be hidden under trench coats. The laws were originated with these weapons back in the early 30s when mobsters would carry them and Tommy guns underneath their trench coats because they're considered weapons of violence and they're readily concealable.
And Agent Petrie, can you tell me, does that shotgun appear to be readily operable right now?
It meets the definition of a firearm. I haven't actually tested it to see if it functions, but it was intended to be a weapon and it is capable of being readily converted to fire if it won't fire in this form.
And if I told you that the shotgun did not have a firing pin, could you tell me the process that it would take to?
If that's the case, it's a pretty simple procedure to drop a firing pin in. This type of shotgun right here was manufactured by a J. Stevens company in the early 1900s to the 50s. They sold these types when they were in original form in like Sears and Roebuck's catalogs back in the day. There's probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of these very similar type shotguns that could use interchangeable parts.
And Agent Petrie, I want to kind of turn your attention to your when you became involved in this investigation. Do you recall December 4th of 2020?
Yes.
And did you have a chance to interview Mr. Young on that date?
Yes.
And Your Honor, may I approach again?
Yes, sir, you may.
Thanks. I'm going to show you what's been admitted as State's Exhibit number 8. Do you recognize that document, sir?
I do.
What is it?
This is a U.S. Department of Justice Advice of Rights and Waiver, commonly a Miranda waiver that is either read by somebody that you're interviewing. Typically, they're in custody. And I often read it to them, ask the person I'm interviewing that's in custody that has the right to an attorney if they want to waive that privilege to continue with the interview.
And is that the process you followed on December 4th of 2020?
Yes.
And did Mr. Young indicate that he understood his rights?
Yes.
And did he indicate that he wished to waive his rights and speak with you?
Yes.
And Your Honor, may I approach again? Thank you. And do you know whether Mr. Young was recorded?
Yes, it was.
Have you had an opportunity to review that recording?
Yes.
And the recording that's on that thumb drive, does it appear to be an accurate representation of the conversation?
I don't know what's on this thumb drive. This appears to be a way a typical interview recording would be turned into the prosecutor's office. It's labeled with the case number, things of that nature, but without seeing what's on the thumb drive, I honestly don't know.
And, Your Honor, at this point, the state would request, to give Agent Petrie a chance to, view the thumb drive to, make sure that it is in fact the interview that he conducted.
What was the video?
The entire video is about 15 minutes, Your Honor.
All right, we're going to stand in recess for 20 minutes to allow the witness. Take the content on State's Exhibit 9. You are reminded that you've not heard all of the evidence in this case, not received the court's instructions on jury charge, and you've not received closing arguments, you've not discussed this case one another or anyone else, okay? So you're not required to stay in the jury room, go outside, take a break, welcome to do so. It's 20 till 3, so let's make sure that we're back in the jury room no later than 3 p.m. and make sure. Okay. All rise. Well, it's not all right. It's to comment on it. Court's in recess. So, no, somebody just needs, they'll just move on down. That's what I'm saying, there's no assigned seating, if everybody will just come in and sit down, they'll make it easier that way. All right, you may be seated. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back on the record, cause number CR 21-98, State of Texas versus Reginald Hoyt Young II. Record reflects that the attorneys for the state, attorney for the defendant, and the jury is present. I believe that before the recess, there was a question to Agent Petrie regarding State's Exhibit 9. Just refresh the recollection of the jury. If we'll go ahead and pick up there, go ahead, Mr. Hartwell.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Agent Petrie, have you had an opportunity to view the video that's on State's Exhibit 9?
Yes,
And does that video appear to have some muted portions?
yes.
What is your understanding of those muted portions?
Parts of my conversation with Mr. Young involved things not relevant to this particular criminal investigation.
And other than those portions, is it a true and accurate copy?
Yes,
Your Honor, offers State's Exhibit 9 with agreed redactions.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor. We've reviewed it.
Okay, then State's Exhibit 9 is admitted.
And Your Honor, permission to publish to the jury.
Granted.
And Your Honor, the alternate would.
Yes, sir. If you want to move out, you can, or if you just want to turn your chair and slide it back, if that's fine. Just whatever is most convenient for you. And if you could probably roll that cabinet back too, Mr. Hartwell, if you want to. There's still room. Stevens, can you see it from there?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
You see it okay?
Are you ready for the CRI? Let me read this, you know, dream test. I've got to read you right. You're right. Let me stop. Anything you say, please begin to record. You have the right to talk to a lawyer before asking any questions. Have a lawyer with during questions. You cannot afford a lawyer. Don't get a lawyer. Questions. You try to answer the question outside the lawyer's question. You have the right to stop it. Don't ask the question. All right. If the waiver that you have read is right, by me, you understand them, this time we will answer the question about lawyer presence. No problem. The rest of it may, no pressure force anytime you get you. All right. But I got back down by the. What place you talking about in Dallas? There's a fire in the thing. We're talking about the little. Yeah, the little big thing that, whatever, I didn't know that they didn't have fire, but I know that, I love them a long time, you know, out there, things, some more there. Where you get locked up at? Midtown. Okay, yeah. W-A-D-E. Oh, have you ever had a fire? Well, I told you that fire. I know somebody who has looked at it. It's not what that fire. I don't. I don't know exactly what's going on. Because I was at my house, taking the old my truck, and I had to have my front seat really away from my girlfriend, but you know that. We I'm thinking on that, people that's about it. And then mine, you know, and you find another thing. No, that's whatever they come about, they have to take one again, that's look, come back to them. And then, they have to get that first one, and something like this, they have one there. Okay, people, where it's go. Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, but the first one that I felt like it was kind of birthday, felt like it was like kind of work and do something like that. I was like, but it's not much that you got this one, and then once I figure out what's going on, I don't have nothing to have, I think nothing else I say, but I don't have no girls, I think the first look for me, I don't have no girls. So like that, my reward. Just find out when that he broke my phone, they were actually. Yeah, that's the guy who's trying to sell the gold coin to the mother. He don't know what's the problem. Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, the point is like, the guy that is on. Okay. No. I mean, we're in plan, I mean, you get this, yeah, I'm roughly, I mean, 20, 25, or. It's just, but it's just, man, I mean, I wouldn't want to, let them fall out, you know, that work, I mean, I know, but, Back to the five, and I can get you back on track. Oh, that's, that was a couple of things here. You pay the break that on that. I can go there. I'm gonna go to that. I'm not talking about it. I'm gonna talk. I don't know if that was something. So I think there's nothing on the weekend. don't even know the difference in the paper, from that, you say something about getting the paper, I think something in the paper, because I don't know, from problem, that's what I'm saying, so, but I think, you know, on the inside, have, on the next, what she be, one person moved to that side, I think with my girlfriend, who's that side, so I mean, that, you know, the road, my house, out, somewhere, and they, and sometimes, or something. And he does got to move that back, and that's what I'm told, so that's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? And 26, not the 26, I put my in front of my people. But for right, yeah, but for the 16 years, I put my in front of not being able to. So the 22 rifle comes from the same place. Yeah, so, you know, 5 years. Yeah, but you know, because my mom went over to get. Right down the road. And now you know you can do your mom in the federal violation, right? Well, I don't know the law that's probably out there against law federally. I mean, I don't know about. I say, but the feds, that's federal stuff. That's all. I don't know if you know them very well, but I don't look at them. Why did you get rid of them? I didn't know, man, I'm not. You had. I'm not gonna have, yes, I mean, that's, you tried to find a little one and not working. No, I'm good, something, fine, and we did not have fun again. Did you try to fire him? I did, he did, it looked like it was, when it first got there, it was kind of rough stuff, you know what I'm saying? And it looked like somebody like he tried to play it up, or something, I don't know, I just know that it does, I know for sure that it does not have fire, and I know it does not. About. I don't know. I will not be there. Right. You go get ammo for it, you got it. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not gonna down shut it. No, you know, I mean, I live in town, so I know. Yeah. I mean, about, and, some of that, and, some of that, I mean, and, sitting around. You worried about anybody wrong here? I worry about this stuff, all the time.
And Agent Petrie, I just have a couple of follow-up questions. Was there anything that stood out to you about Mr. Young's discussion about firing the 22 rifle?
Yeah, my knowledge of the investigation, the 22 rifles in close proximity to to the sawed off shotgun.
And what would that, the proximity and firing the 22, what would that indicate to you?
The knowledge that the firearms are there, knew that one worked and one didn't, which meant must have tried, or he's told me that somebody else did, but
And there was some discussion about a firing pin, and you had mentioned that it doesn't matter according to the law. Does not having a firing pin, does that make a weapon not a firearm?
no. It just says it has to be readily converted or is intended to be fired by the means of an explosion. A firearm itself is a weapon, whether it's fired or not. It can be pointed at somebody and have the same intention. But if it's created to be a firearm, then it's a firearm.
And then your discussion about the fingerprints on the shotgun seemed Mr. Young was kind of equivocating there. What does that tell you in your experience as an agent?
That's a typical question I ask because a lot of people watch CSI, think that we get fingerprints off of everything, which is not accurate at all, especially when they're dealing a weapon like this. But what it does is it gives a measure of truthfulness. And when I saw him start to stammer and sputter, which is a common deceptive technique, I knew that he was probably worried about that question.
And then when you mentioned not looking to charge Mr. Young's mom, can you go into that a little bit and that exchange?
Correct. Throughout that interview, Mr. Young was trying to what I considered minimize his criminal involvement with this. He knew I was questioning him about it. So ways of doing that are to minimize what I knew or what I had, and then also try to place the blame on others. I could tell throughout the interview that although he acknowledged he knew it was there and in its presence, he was trying to say that his mother went and got it after he initially told me that Mr. Waddell called him. He said that Mr. Waddell, his mother went and retrieved them and then brought them back to the house, which I informed him that is a violation of federal law because that's a prohibited weapon. And I wasn't looking to get his mother in trouble. The charge, when I used the word charge, meant get your mother in trouble. I just wanted the truth. I could tell that he was trying to deflect.
And then last question, are you familiar with, to your knowledge and experience, is there a definition for an antique gun?
Yes.
And would this firearm meet that definition?
No. Antique firearms are like muzzle loading firearms, black powder. They use an antique ignition source, or if they're manufactured prior to 1898. I'm familiar with these firearms. They were manufactured well after the 1900s, and it doesn't use an antique ignition system and doesn't take black powder. So it's what we consider a modern firearm.
Okay. Your Honor, state passes the witness.
Mr. Stevens, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Special Agent Petrie, I'm Bill Stevens. I'm going to ask some questions. If I don't make sense, please just stop me.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, was Mr. Young pretty much cooperative throughout that entire interview?
Yes.
And he did start off at first, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he start off at first telling you that his mom is the one that put the shotgun and also a TV in her trailer?
Well, yes, he changed his story a couple of times. He tried to tell me that it wasn't his trailer, but then he clearly says on the video that my girlfriend must have moved him out of my house and they were underneath the TV. So I was never clear on the relation to when they got there, how they got there, or what the TV had anything to do with.
But he did initially say that his mother wouldn't put him in there, correct?
Yes.
Initially. Okay.
Yes.
And then I believe his story might have changed after you, I don't want to say threatened him with his mom, but after you made the comment about, you're not going to throw your mom under the bus, are you? This is a federal offense. And that's when he then changed his story. Am I correct on that?
Correct. I was calling out his falsehoods to let him know that by him pointing his finger at somebody else and trying to place the blame, he could actually get them in trouble.
I know fingerprints were not taken from the shotgun. However, could they have been taken from the shotgun?
From that shotgun there?
Yes.
It could have been submitted, but they wouldn't have got anything off of it because of the rust and the wear. There's, based on my training experience, there's nowhere on there that latent prints would be able to hold.
Okay. And do you have any way through your examination to determine when that shotgun was last fired?
No, sir.
So it might not have been fired for 30 years for all we know. Is that correct?
Possible.
Now, I just want to make sure the jury understands something. You were out there investigating this burglary initially, is that correct?
I never went to the scene that day.
Okay, but I mean, wasn't the feds investigating the theft of the gold coins?
Yes, I was assisting the Smith County Sheriff's Office with that.
Right, sir. And my client was not involved or not charged with anything involving the gold coins, correct?
I don't know that,
Okay,
to be honest.
you don't know if he was or was not.
Correct.
Okay, he was cooperative with you, was he not? When
Yes.
you were asking him about the gold coins?
Yes, sir.
Did his interview help you in any way locate the people that was responsible for stealing the gold coins?
Yes.
Ask the witness, Ron.
Mr. Harwell, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just real quick follow-up, Agent Petrie, mentioned earlier that without a firing pin, it's still a firearm. So kind of a follow-up question to that, without a firing pin, would it still be a prohibited weapon?
Correct.
State pass salutes, Your Honor.
Mr. Steven,
No further questions.
any objection to Agent Petrie being finally excused?
Your Honor, state would ask that he be subject to recall, but no objection to just being within a phone call.
Okay, Agent Petrie, so you're still able to discuss your testimony with anyone else, allow them to discuss their testimony with you, not required to stay in the courthouse, but subject to recall by local state. Yeah, that's your statement. All right, does the state wish to call any additional witnesses?
No, Your Honor, state rests.
State rests its evidence at this time.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Stevens, would you like your opening statement at this time?
No opening statement, Your Honor.
So that's waived. Does the defense wish to call any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who would you like to call?
Sheila Prater, Your Honor.
Sheila Crater,
Prater.
Prater.
Prater, yes, sir.
Prater.
Prater.
Thank you.
I believe that's how it's spelled, Judge.
Crater, before you step in there, I'm gonna ask that you raise your right hand. So the place you know, you swear that the testimony give the court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So, thank you, ma'am. Once you're still up, because you, okay, that chair does move around, so you can adjust it. Just make sure I see that you have your cell phone. If you wouldn't mind, just like, get him, he does have that, let him have that, so make sure it's really quiet.
But, okay.
Adjust your chair, so we get you closer to the microphone.
Okay.
Prater, during your testimony, to the court, speak up loudly and clearly so everyone can hear what you have to say. My court reporter here is taking down a record of what everyone's saying, okay? So
Okay.
it's very important that you allow your attorneys to finish the questions before you give an answer, so we're not talking at the same time. It should be very difficult for her. If during your testimony, either attorney objects, they stand up, so Your Honor, I object. Just stop testifying, the court will rule on that, or let you know whether it is or not. Okay? And then finally, if you're an emergency vehicle or a loud truck, the attorney's going to stop asking questions. If that happens to your testimony, I want you to stop so that it's not to pass, so that we can all hear what you have to say. Okay? Mr. Stevens,
Judge, may we approach?
you may. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a legal issue that must take out outside your presence. So I'm gonna put you in recess. I'm not sure how else. So it's about 20 till 4. I'm gonna say let's do the recess for 50 minutes. Back in the jury room no later than 3:55. Checking on it. Remember to follow the instructions I've given you so far. Don't discuss this case with each other. Okay, let's all rise for the jury.
So that's what we told him. And he said, let's take the jury out. So I took it to the side of the case. You said, don't get on.
Are you gonna be seated? All right, let the record reflect that the jury has been excused, that this hearing is conducted outside their presence. Court has done so on the suggestion that some of the questions may implicate the Fifth Amendment rights of the witness, Ms. Prater. And is your name Sheila Prater?
Yes,
Is it SHEILA?
no, LIA,
LIA?
yes,
Is it PRATER?
yes.
Thank you, ma'am. And so I think at this time, what I would do is just allow you, Mr. Stevens, to just summarize what issues that you believe are going to be the subject of Ms. Prater's testimony that could implicate her Fifth Amendment rights.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll be asking her, we've heard testimony already that it's stated that my client put the shotgun in the travel trailer and that my client lives there. Her testimony is going to be that she is the one that put the shotgun there and that my client doesn't live there, that she did. With that being said, it's a prohibited weapon. And if she testifies that she put it there, then that could open herself up to liability. So that's my concern, Your Honor. And I did visit with Ms. Prater and I did explain those, concerns with her. So that's a perimeter of kind of what I'm talking about, Judge.
Any response from the state?
So, Your Honor, I guess in light of that, those facts, I don't know that it's necessarily relevant to the case at bar in light of the fact that it's a possession of the weapon as to who moved what or where, but rather the fact that he was aware and he's testified to the fact that he had them there.
Right. This is not a question about him. This is a question about her. Do you have a response to his questioning of her and whether or not she should have counsel? I just want to.
Well, she absolutely should if she's going to be admitting that she in fact was handling an illegal weapon.
So what's the statute of limitations for possessing a prohibited weapon?
Your Honor, I believe under the state it would be 3 years. I don't know what it would be federally though.
We need to find that out. I think you have an ATF agent who's.
Is he still hanging around? We can find out real quick.
Perhaps you should step out and give him a call. I don't know what the statute of limitation is for.
I don't either.
For a federal allegation of prohibited weapon. If it's. When did the Van Zandt County Sheriff's Office take possession of this weapon? On November 25th, 2020?
Yes, sir.
So here we are almost 4 years later. So if the statute of limitations has run, then there might not be any criminal.
No, that's true. If
responsibility.
it's run.
Now, that begs the question, doesn't mean that law enforcement couldn't make an allegation. It just means a prosecution can't be had. It doesn't mean that a law enforcement officer couldn't be standing outside the door waiting to arrest her. Just means that a prosecution wouldn't be successful because it wouldn't be timely. Right. You all agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so what I would like to do is I'm going to stand in recess for a few minutes. I would ask the state to contact Agent Petrie and see if you can get a quick answer for the court and a reference to the CFR that or whatever, or USC, whatever the reference is. and get the court a quick answer on that, so I don't have to go research that. And then I will still consider whether or not to appoint her counsel. Yes. All right, court's gonna be in recess for 5 minutes.
So do I stay here
You can get up if you want to. Yeah, so we're
or
not,
or I can sit here?
you can sit here if you want to.
Ain't no need to
You
be
can-
moving.
You can sit outside.
It's cold out there.
Okay. If you're fine, just where you are.
Thank you.
You'll be here.
All right, we're back on the record. Cause number CR 21-98, State of Texas versus Reginald Hoyt Young II. This is a hearing outside the presence of the jury. Due to the nature of the direct examination and potential cross-examination of this witness, Miss Sheila Prater, the court finds that her Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination could become an issue. And so the court has found Miss Prater to be indigent, and the court is going to appoint the Honorable Richard Schmidt to advise Miss Prater both prior to and during her testimony regarding her Fifth Amendment rights. The court tomorrow, after she has received the advice of counsel, will also admonish her as to her Fifth Amendment right. But unfortunately, Mr. Schmidt would not be available today on such late notice. It is 4 p.m. So I think it's best to recess for the day. So I'm going to tell the jury that we're going to come back in the morning at 9 a.m. Ms. Prater, I'm going to order you to come back at 8:30 in the morning. 8:30 in the morning, and there you will meet with Mr. Richard Schmidt, attorney.
Okay.
And he's going to talk to you about your testimony and any implications it could have regarding any potential arrest or prosecution that could stem from that. Okay. And so I don't want you to say anything at this time, but you'll meet with him in the morning and he will advise you and counsel you. And
Okay.
he'll be here during your testimony and can be here if you have any legal questions. Okay.
It's fine.
And so I believe you've given the contact information to my coordinator, Ms. Tabriam. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so I'm gonna order you to come back at 8:30, and then we'll begin promptly at 9 a.m. Any issues on that matter from council?
No, sir.
Any other?
No, sir.
Any other issues we need to take up?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
So the defense has indicated that they believe that Ms. Prater will be the last defense witness. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So, Ms. Prater, I'm gonna go ahead and, I'm gonna leave you where you're at,
Okay.
jury in, and I'm just gonna let the jury know that there's an issue that we're gonna deal with and that we're gonna resume tomorrow. And, that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
All right. Let's all rise for the jury. All right. Thank you. You may be seated. Let the record reflect that the attorneys for the state, attorney for the defendant, and the jury are all present and seated in the courtroom. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your patience. The legal issue that the court is undertaking is going to take a little longer than anticipated. The court has noted that it is already after 4 p.m. today. So rather than keep you here after hours while we take up this issue, I think it would be best for us to just recess for the day and begin tomorrow at 9 a.m. So I'm going to order that you be back in the jury room no later than 8:45, and we will begin at 9 a.m. and we'll continue with Ms. Prater's testimony at that time. You're going to recall that you've not received all of the evidence, you've not received the court's instructions, and you've not received the closing arguments of counsel. Therefore, you're not to discuss this case with each other or anyone else. If you find that anyone is trying to talk to you about the case, or there's any discussions amongst the jury about it, then I want you to report it to the court immediately because that would be jury misconduct. Okay? All right, so let's all rise for the jury. We'll see you at 8:45.
See what I'm getting, just.
It is what it is. It is, you're right.
All right. There's nothing further, then we will adjourn for the day and I will see everyone around. We'll start back up at 9 a.m. in the morning. I'll see you at 8:30. What time do you want, Mr. Young here, Mr. Stevens?
I guess about 8:45 or something. Doesn't need to be real early, Judge.
All right, so if you'll just, will you be in charge of Mr. Young tomorrow? All right, then we'll see both of y'all about 8:45.
Right, sir.
All right, then we are adjourned for the day.